Greetings viewers, if you click the video link, you're here to see and listen to me talk about these 60 round AK-47 mags from American Tactical. I picked up a couple of these when I got my Mark 47. I had some issues loading them and I hadn't gotten around to messing with them. So I finally got some time. I'm going to sit down and do that today, but I want to kind of do it with you present. I have had some issues with this. I don't normally like to just dump on a product and say it sucks, it's a piece of crap, and move on. So I'm going to point out the issues that I've had with it, and then we are going to try to see if we can remedy said issues based on some information I've been able to find. Again, these are 60 round magazines. Theoretically, I should be able to fit all 3 of these 20 round boxes of ammo into this one mag. The way these operate is they start out as a double stack up top for maybe about this much, and then they turn into a quad stack. The spring that is inside of this thing is, I don't want to say atrocious because it's doing its job. It's providing the back pressure needed on the magazine to help feed and load the rounds in. The only problem with that is that spring is so tight. The problem is I can't fit a whole box of these in here even before it stops. And regardless if I'm using a mag lula or just my thumbs or trying to fight and just use any amount of brute force necessary to load it, I cannot get even an entire box in here, let alone the other 2 that are supposed to fit. Now, I did some research online the best that I could. A lot of people are talking about the 60 round AR version of these mags, and I've heard nothing but great things about them. So again, I assumed that the AK would be no different. However, I have found minimal posts that people have made on various sites talking about having the same issues. Different people had different suggestions for fixing it. Some of those suggestions included just taking the spring out and kind of compressing it a little bit. Some people said oil up the springs, some people said heat them up and compress them. So we're going to do a combination of things today. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and show you, and I'm going to load in as many rounds as I possibly can, and we're going to see how many we can fit in there. I'm going to unload the mag, and then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go through the process of frog lubing the spring that's in this. So I'm going to strip it with alcohol, let it dry. We're going to heat it up and then kind of coat it with a little bit of frog lube. We're going to squish the spring a little bit and put it back inside of here and see if perhaps we can actually put the prescribed amount of rounds inside of this thing. I don't want this thing just sitting around collecting dust. I want to get it fixed, I want to get it operational, and I want to leave it in my Mark 47 in case the time arises where I may need to employ it. So let's go ahead and start trying to throw some rounds into this thing, shall we? All right, so we managed to actually, surprisingly enough, get 45 rounds into this thing, and I cannot keep this mag lula on here anymore. I don't know what's going on here, but we've got this should not be flopping around like that. So we're definitely going to have to take this thing apart. I was actually surprised, perhaps my previous endeavors messing with this thing loosened the spring a little bit. But like I said, I'm going to go ahead and go with my original plan. I'm going to empty this magazine. I'm going to strip the spring with alcohol. I'm going to heat it up with the heat gun. We're going to frog lube it. We're going to compress it just a little bit and see if we can make this thing operational, because I need a magazine that is actually reliable, not one that I'm concerned about having in my gun and not functioning. All right, so I guess this is a newfound issue. As I'm trying to unload it, the spring or something is binding up and the rounds are actually kind of nosediving forward, and it's keeping the follower from coming up. So that's why I'm getting these rounds that are kind of loose and I can just pull them out. So definitely going to need to mess with this some more. All right, so we've got all the rounds out of this thing. So the first thing I'm going to do is disassemble it. I'm going to show you kind of what the springs and the mechanism inside of this looks like. So there is a button on the bottom here, and you can tell already just before disassembling this thing, the amount of force it takes to push that piece in is pretty substantial. And once you push that forward, the butt plate on here slides towards the front of the magazine. It also, if you get it partially off, it kind of just lifts itself and doesn't even need to slide over the groove, so that's exciting. Now, you can see how much of this spring is actually sticking out, and if you notice, it's actually kind of twisted a bit, where this, if I've got the magazine pointing straight, this is actually cocked off to the side a little bit. That's a lot of spring sticking out, and this thing, like I said, man, it is tight. So when we pull this out, this is the main portion for the quad stack part of the mag. And then this is our follower, and then the smaller portion of it that actually links into the top here. So again, you start out with that double stack, this gets compressed and starts working on this, and then we've got our quad stack towards the thicker base of this magazine. So as stated, what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the plastic pieces off of here. I'm going to strip the metal parts with alcohol, and then we're going to heat them up and put some frog lube paste on there. We're going to compress the springs a little bit, make them, we're just going to kind of squish them and make sure that they squeeze without twisting them or bending them in the wrong direction, and see if maybe we can get that to help with our issue, because this thing has so much force on it that it is making this mag not reliable. So I really want to fix that. I want to be able to run these and not have to worry about it. So let's see if we can make something happen with that, shall we? All right, so you saw a little bit of me stripping the metal springs with the alcohol. I left the plastic parts on because they were just kind of the way they're intertwined with it. I wasn't going to try and destroy them getting them separated, so I just left them together. Once the alcohol dried, I hit them with the heat gun, and then I applied a thin layer of frog lube paste using a small paintbrush. As soon as the frog lube touches the hot metal, it instantly turns to liquid, kind of starts soaking into those opened up metal pores. So I let it sit for a little bit. While it was still warm, not piping hot, I went ahead and stuck the magazine back in. As you can see in front of you, I now have 3 empty boxes of ammo. I didn't think you wanted to see me tediously stuffing 60 rounds back inside this mag, but it is full. If you can see that through the viewing window, we're going all the way to the bottom there. This thing is quite hefty now that it is full. What I think the next step is going to be is I'm just going to let this sit as is. It does seem like there's enough back pressure on here, so this top round is not trying to dump itself out, so that is a good sign. But I'm just going to leave it loaded and have that spring compressed. Again, it was warm, not hot. I did not want to have it piping hot when I did that, and then because of the heat in the metal, it shrinks, and then now it does not expand again, so then basically it becomes useless. Hopefully this may or may not fix the issue, but for now I am just going to let this sit for a couple days as is. I'm not going to mess with it, and then we'll probably take it out to the range and fire it off and see if we can make some magic happen here and find out if we have a reliable magazine or not. All right, so we're out here on the range, got the mag all loaded up. It was a little bit tight to actually get it seated. We'll see if that creates any issues, but we are just going to fire to see if and what any kind of malfunctions we might get. If it runs clean, then we're good. If not, we may have to go back to the drawing board. So we're just going to shoot, no target, and see what happens. Uh-oh, we got one, but that went quite a while. As you can see, it's not a double feed or anything. The round is actually just stuck underneath the top of the bolt there. So we'll see if we can get that fixed and then finish out the rest of this mag, which it appears there's actually not much left. All right, so for the most part that ran really smooth. It was actually up to the point where we got to just the double stack portion where we had those malfunctions. Kind of smacked it around a little bit, cycled it a few times, and it worked. I'm just gonna keep working with this mag as is. I'm not gonna mess with all the other ones. I'll just keep running it, and perhaps just over time, squishing and releasing the spring on this and during use will make it a little bit more viable. But for right now, I am happy with it. Definitely happier with it than when I first got it. I thought I had a dud. But thankfully we ended up actually being able to salvage it. So hopefully you found something useful in my endeavors here. Again, I'm going to continue to work on it. If you have any experiences with these mags, let me know down below what you have done or seen in your workings with them. So anyway, with that, I'm going to call the video here. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.